everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from steaming hot Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about churches and what to do when they go under.
Yeah, here's the thing. We've talked about it before on this show. The good news is that people are leaving their religious traditions.
Yes.
In favor of something better, hopefully.
Brunch.
Reason, smarts, whatever. But what that leaves is a bunch of edifices, a bunch of buildings dedicated to Jeebus or whatever. What are you going to do with them?
What is a town to do? So we're gonna discuss that.
Yes.
Should be interesting.
We're going to have some fun. I'm
might
dreaming
be.
on it. I am fantasizing about it. It's something that I've literally always wanted to own a church. Not always, but since I've been grown and atheist, I've kind of always had this fantasy. Anyway, we'll talk about it.
Okay, we'll talk about it because I was just about to get into it. I was
No.
what would you do with your church?
We got to pump the brakes.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, first, let's talk about some news stories from the week.
The news.
I have one that comes to us from Ogden, Utah, Dan, just up the I-15.
O-Town, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to read the headline. Because the headline says most of it.
Okay.
Ogden father allegedly chokes son for refusing to go on church mission.
Oh, God.
That would be a LDS church mission, or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints,
Yeah.
as they
The
want
Mormons.
to be called all the time.
It's a Mormon mission. The Mormon
mission.
As my mom used to call them, the Mission Mormonaries. I thought that was cute.
Scott Keith Warner, that's his name. 49 years old, was booked into the Weber County Jail on Monday.
Goodness gracious!
And he was accused of aggravated assault and committing domestic violence in the presence of a child. Both are third-degree felonies.
Oh shit! He did it in front of another kid, huh?
Yep, a younger child. So the 18-year-old, who was the one who was saying, nope, not going on a mission, had just gotten finished telling him that he would. And I guess they were arguing, as, fathers and sons.
You're telling me that a teenage boy was in an argument with his parent? Unheard of.
And somewhere in this, I shouldn't be laughing. Somewhere in this, he told his father that he would not be going on a mission.
You have to understand, ladies and gentlemen at home, going on a mission, for most Mormon parents, is like, it's if your kid doesn't go on their mission, your boy. Girls don't have to. Girls, it's a choice, whatever.
Right.
But if your boy doesn't go on a mission, it's like it's bringing shame on the household. It is a huge deal.
Yeah. You did something wrong as a parent.
You failed.
You failed as a Mormon parent.
Yeah.
That child did not turn out right. Something's not right with that kid. Right?
This, however, is not an excuse to commit domestic violence, to commit violence against a child.
Yeah. So, let's see. In his statement to police, he said that his father grabbed him by the arm, and they began to fight. This is from the police department probable cause statement. It says the victim reported that during this fight he was knocked to the ground, and the father began to strike the victim's head into the wall repeatedly, as well as squeeze the victim's neck with both hands.
Okay.
The son had scratches on the right side of his neck and redness on the back of his neck. This is again from the officer. The victim was visibly shaken while speaking with me about the incident and was hesitant to provide details.
Oh, poor kid.
Poor kid. The sister was the one who called 911.
At
she
least
saw him choking.
At least the dad is setting the example that Jesus would want him to set.
Yeah, exactly. Now get out there. Preach some gospel.
If you don't do what the Lord wants you to do, I will fucking end you.
I mean, this is like, you can't blame somebody. Okay, you can, of course, because we live in a modern society. But you can't really blame somebody for just practicing what their Bible teaches.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Like spare the rod and spoil the child. Isn't that in the Bible somewhere?
It is in the Bible. There's plenty of instances where the Bible teaches you to be violent. And so, okay, it's a terrible book.
He's just being a good Bible reading, you know
what's amazing?
Christ-believing Christian type.
Right. What's super amazing about this is that Mormons don't even, it's not required that you go on a mission. It's heavily suggested.
Well, yeah.
It's culturally required, but it's not doctrinally required. Which I think, so like this level of insanity, but so many parents either like threaten their kid, like disown their kid if they don't go, bribe their children. You hear
Bribing
all about kids.
Huge.
Bribing
Wealthy families.
Oh, yeah.
Forget about it.
I'll buy you a car and pay for your college, but only if you go on your mission.
Right, exactly.
As a matter of fact, there's a great. We interviewed a guy on How to Heretic. There's a missionary who has snuck out an internet device, and he is tweeting from the handle, I think, Broken Missionary, @Broken Missionary or something along those lines. And he's on his mission as we speak, hating his life, but he's there pretending because his mom like won't give him like something. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, there you go. It's Christians being Christian, or Mormoning. It's
really
never a good thing. Yeah,
I know. He's being a good Mormon.
Yeah. I tweeted a tweet. I almost never tweet, but you're welcome to follow me @Mr. Beecher. You're not going to find much. But I tweeted a tweet just today that was like that basically, because I saw a meme that talked about what Jesus would do versus what Christians would do, and I said maybe it's time we stop calling what Jesus said Christianity. That's Jesusism, and that's a totally different thing, and they mostly hate that. They've moved well past what Jesus said and are on their own thing now.
Post-Jesus Christians?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of non-Christian Christians, Donald John Trump. I don't know if you've heard of him. He happens to be the president of our country. Probably will be for the next 12 years. Anyway, he revealed something really interesting recently at a small rally he was holding in Minnesota this week. He said he converses with God. Isn't that nice?
Really?
Yeah. He was talking about the economy and the fact that it's not doing great. They love to talk about how he had steered us to the best economy in the world until the China virus came and took it all away from him. He of course was just riding on the wave that was created by the Obama administration before him, but that's okay. Anyway, he revealed this conversation that he had with the Lord, in which he said, quote, "You know what that is? That's right. That's God testing me." He's talking about the economy tanking after he had made it so great. He goes on to say, he said, "You did it once." And I said, "Did I do a great job, God? I'm the only one who could do it." And he said, "That you shouldn't say. Now we're going to have you do it again."
Oh my God. Oh, fuck me.
Oh my God. It is the most, exactly. But now, because, he used to sort of shy away from the God stuff. He didn't really want to talk about it. He would throw it into a speech. Wouldn't say anything off the cuff or whatever. But now, he is liberal with the God stuff. He's talking to God. He's having conversations.
Desperate. He needs these Christians that back him to show up. And so he's saying whatever it takes. And it's also intertwined and related and everything. He's gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
So, like what's the frontal lobe thing?
Oh, do you think he has temporal lobe epilepsy?
Probably not.
No, I think he looks in the mirror and thinks he's talking to God.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Dan. I wanted some good news. This week. I wanted good news.
Did you find some?
I feel like I found something.
That's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
right?
I'll believe it when I hear it. You tell me what it is, and I'll tell you.
It's actually a beat that we don't spend a lot of time on, ironically, right? Which is the goings-on of atheist groups in the United States.
Oh, yeah, we don't spend a lot of time.
They get mentioned, of course they do.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
But and whenever like the FFR sues somebody, well, we're going to get into that, right? But this is just a shout out, more or less, to Atheists United in Los Angeles.
Okay.
That did a food drive, and they set up a what do you call it when. Like a food bank type setup where they had bags of food, right?
Sure.
So they provided meals for hungry people in the Los Angeles area. They had large parcels of groceries for 75 to 80 families and individuals.
Oh, nice.
20 volunteers helped to distribute over 1,000 pounds of food.
Oh my gosh.
And they also set up a table for voter registration. I mean, these people are just doing everything, right? Voter registration. They handed out materials from the Secular America Votes Project. And they set up a computer for the census as well.
Oh,
all this little stand thing. And I just wanted to bring it up because it really meant a lot to me, right? To see a story like this.
Yeah.
And I just felt like we need to do something. Could be doing something.
You're not talking about you and me.
No, not us. But
good.
Just atheists in general. No, and I think the thing that you and I can do very easily is just do a quick shout out to everybody. Remember that there are great organizations, great atheist organizations out there. They're doing great work.
Absolutely.
And imagine being hungry and not knowing where a lot of your or much of your food is coming from, and you have to suck it up and go to some Christian food pantry somewhere in order to get it.
As a matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put this out there. If there are atheists, if you're a member of an atheist group that is doing something powerful like this to help others right now, write to us. We'll tell the world about it. We'll magnify your story. We will do what we can to signal boost for you. Right into us, because our activism is this dumb show that we do, but we can use it. We can use the platform to help out your group. So let us know if you're doing something awesome like helping feed the poor.
Absolutely,
and we'll help you with that. So That's awesome. Good job. Wait, what was the name of the group?
Atheists United?
I think that's what you said.
Atheists United. Yeah. I'd already set the story on the table behind me.
Well, I'm that's wonderful. I am going to give a much less wonderful story now. So glad
Whiplash.
you set that up.
Podcast Whiplash.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you know this, but the folks down at ICE, at our immigration and something, what does ICE stand for? Immigration Customs Enforcement, something like that?
I don't know.
I think, that's it. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're not good. They're bad people.
They're
right now.
Yep.
They have been. They are run with hatred in their hearts. It's sort of the goal of the group at this point is to hate anyone not from this country. I think the Trump administration made that their stated goal. Anyway, don't quote me on that. That's just, I think so. Anyway, here's the latest evidence of that, which is that they have a detainee facility, a detention facility, somewhere in, it's called the Miami Immigration Detention Facility.
Okay.
And there, they've got a lot of people detained there. And, there's plenty of people who are like refugees who are detained there and whatever. Anyway, many of them are Muslim. Well, it turns out that for the past months, several months, the Muslim detainees have had two options for their meals. Either they have to eat some sort of pork product.
Oh, God.
Or, which is, of course, completely against their religion.
Right.
That is haram. It is not allowed.
Right.
It is, it's a horrifying thought to them. Or they can have halal food, which is nice, but it's all expired and rotten.
What?
So they either get the expired, rotten food, or they have to break their religion.
God.
Which is amazing to me because, honestly, the right paints themselves as the religious rights side of the thing. Like, they're so all for...
We know whose rights they're talking about.
Only Christian rights.
Yeah.
They only care about the rights of Christians. They do not care about anybody else. And especially not Muslims. They hate Muslims. But so, there's a lawsuit that's happening right now. This facility is called the Krome, Krome Service Processing Center, and apparently nobody has cared. They have written to multiple levels of the sort of the hierarchy, and no one's been willing or able to do a damn thing. But apparently, before the pandemic, they were given halal food, and they didn't really have a problem getting it.
Okay.
But since the pandemic, they've figured they can just get away with whatever they want to.
God. Or it's just another shortage.
Yeah, right.
At the supermarket.
Oh, sorry, we ran out of... Yeah, it's so hard to find food that doesn't have pork.
Because that would probably be enough, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I mean...
Just fucking give them vegan food. Give them whatever you want. Give them, it does. Oh my God. It's just, look, I'm no fan of Islam. I think it's as stupid as any religion.
If not stupider.
And it's freaking dangerous, just like all the religions. It's awful. But treat people.
The people.
Oh my God.
Respect. Right.
Just treat people right.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
Well, what you have is a situation where it's like, they can just eat this, and so it's like, okay, but they probably won't. A lot of them won't, right? So now they're just going hungry, right?
That's true.
And that's a consequence of not providing them with food that they would eat, right? Now they probably break down at a certain point and eat some of it, which is then all the more horrifying,
right? Yeah, you're putting them in an awful position,
right? That
there's no point in putting them in except to just be a dick.
Yeah,
but I think that's what I stands for. Is we are dicks. They don't know how to spell.
Yeah, they're really bad at it.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
I've got another Mormon-y story.
Woo!
This time down at the Brigham Young University.
Your former alma mater.
Where one elder, Quentin L. Cook, he's a member of the Quorum of the 12 of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
One of the few people in the LDS Church whose title is elder, for who is actually elder than other people.
True.
Most of the quote-unquote elders in the church are all the 19-year-olds that are ringing your doorbell.
This is true. These folks in the Quorum of the 12, they're called apostles. Right?
And
so if you hear me actually say that, that's what I'm saying.
They're very important.
So important. And so actually that's a good point. When one of these guys speaks, they are they may not be the prophet, but they really represent the leadership of the church. They speak for the church.
Yeah.
They
on the highest level possible.
Right. They love to say to when one of them gets something really wrong that, he was just speaking as a man. Right.
Right. Oh, yeah. They have that out. They can pretend.
But we know when they get up in front of a bunch of faculty at Brigham Young University in Provo and start talking about things, that they're probably talking as essentially a prophet, right?
They are meant to be taken 100% seriously.
And so he says that the church, maybe that's not entirely clear, but anyway, he says that he vows support for social justice groups, with the caveat of as long as they're not undercutting the Constitution, right? And so he says we all support peaceful efforts to overcome racial and social injustice. This needs to be accomplished, right? But he said, he urged the faculty to be on the forefront of righteously repenting and following the counsel of the President Russell M. Nelson, who has asked us to build bridges of cooperation rather than walls of segregation. Okay, all right.
So far so good. I'm waiting for a shoe to drop. I know it's coming.
Some, intentionally or not, are trying to undermine our country's founding history and the United States Constitution, he said. Whether by intention or by myopia, both effects are regrettable. My concern is that some are also trying to undermine the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights that has blessed this country and protected people of all faiths. Right? We have to protect religious freedom, blah, 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 blah. And then he gets to Brigham Young.
Brother Brigham.
And he defends Brigham Young and his stance on race.
Which
he famously...
That's a tough one to defend, man. That dude was a hateful old man.
Yeah. It's important to remember Brigham Young, and I actually looked up this speech that apparently was referenced, or at least this article references. They did a good job reporting this. The article says it was Young who, in a February 1852 speech before the Utah Territorial Legislature, set up a racial hierarchy. And so, and I know we had talked about another Brigham Young speech, and I thought that this was what it was referencing. And this was actually another hateful speech in front of the legislature.
Yeah.
And lest we get too confused or buy into, this like, he was a product of his time, right? Which is just fucking bullshit, because they were also abolitionists at the same time. So he wasn't a product of his time. He was a racist, right? Yeah. He was pro-slavery. And so he in this speech, he talks about Cain and Abel, and he sets up this whole thing about, and I'd never heard this, you can grow up Mormon and never hear any of the Brigham Young bullshit because it's just so weird, right?
Well, and they don't, we grew up in a time when they wouldn't mention it because they didn't want anyone to know about it.
Exactly, right? And so he talks about, this is Brigham Young speaking. He goes, long ago, Mama Eve, our good old mother Eve, and I'm going to, it's written like with the way that it was actually transcribed. Okay. So there's like wonderful, wonderful typos in here, like partook, which is pertook, Pertook, partook of the forbidden fruit, and this made a slave of her. Okay. Adam hated very much to have her taken out of the Garden of Eden. And now our old daddy says, I believe I will eat of the fruit and become a slave too.
Interesting.
So,
what?
And he says this was the first introduction of slavery upon this earth. And there has not been a son or daughter of Adam from that day to this, but what were slaves in the true sense of the word. So he's saying everybody's a slave. But what he goes on to set up,
which is so funny because the Mormons reject original sin,
right?
But which it seems like what he's talking about. But
yeah, but he sets up this whole thing with like, so essentially there's this hierarchy, and white people are slaves essentially to God, right?
Okay, right, yes.
But other races,
I don't like where this is going.
Might be slaves to white people.
Sure. Yeah, you gotta look. You gotta build you gotta go with the pecking order,
right? And he says,
oh my God.
Now then, in the kingdom of God on earth, a man who has the African blood in him cannot hold one jot nor tittle of priesthood. Why? Because they are the true eternal principles of the Lord Almighty he has ordained, and who can help it? Men cannot. So it's just God commanded it, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, you talk of the dark skin. I never saw a white man on earth, he says. Get this, right? I have seen persons whose hair comes pretty nigh being white, but to talk about white skins, it is something entirely unknown, though some skins are fairer than others. So he's basically saying none of us are white.
None of us are perfect. You can't.
And he says, if you there's no such thing as white folks. We are all children of Adam who received his blessing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, what in the fuck? And so this is the man that they have to get up and defend. Right. And they refuse to have a reckoning with their past.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He says things, he continues on, and he's just spouting nonsense. He says things like,
you're talking about the apostle.
The apostle. Now we're back
Brigham.
to the apostle.
Yeah.
He says, yet Latter-day Saint leaders often choose to turn the other cheek, he said, or ignore critiques. We are certainly among the least aggressive in defending ourselves against obviously untrue and or unfair criticism.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, maybe you shouldn't defend yourself, or you should be more worried about the true ones, which is the real crux of the problem. Oh my God.
Oh golly gee.
Well, I mean, he's got a serious row to hoe at this point, because literally one of the best LDS scholars that exists right now, Joanna Brooks, just came out with her history of Mormon racism.
Yeah, and
she did not pull punches.
Nice.
She went after it.
Good.
So there you go. Mormons used to be racist. Fortunately, they're still racist. So we'll just keep that in mind. I'm going to close on what for me is a fun, positive note, and that is the meteoric fall of one J. Fall Jew, Jerry Falwell Jr., who has completely crashed and burned and is no longer and is essentially persona non grata completely at this point. He has resigned officially from his position as president of Liberty University, and things have just exploded, including an article in, I think, Reuters that came out this week that was basically the pool boy, the infamous pool boy that mysteriously suddenly they were in business with, that they basically bought him a youth hostel.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, why is his name in the deed and stuff? Well, it turns out, at least according to this pool boy, that the why of it was that that Jerry Falwell Jr.'s wife, Becky Falwell, used to like to have sex with the boy, and Jay Fall himself used to like to sit in the corner and watch.
Ooh.
Which Look,
Wow.
I got zero kink shame in me. If you are into it and you're finding something that's turning you on and lighting your fire as a couple, go after it.
Yeah. But that's spicy for somebody in his position.
Yeah, well, a little too spicy considering how fucking pious and so like preachy motherfucker this guy has been his entire life, and how he, his and considering the rules at his university, how, people aren't even supposed to look at someone of the opposite sex. It is like for someone who is demanding the levels of purity and purity is their word, not mine. Right. The levels of abstinence and sort of squareness.
And
Yeah. Because look, 2, 3, 4 people having a good time is on them. That's great, but man, when it's hypocrisy of this magnitude, all I have in me is Schadenfreude. I love that he is crashing and burning. I love, and he has denied it. He said that all of his troubles. At one point, he released a statement that was basically that all of his troubles were because he was depressed because his wife was had this affair. Right. It's like, well, dude, it doesn't. You don't get to claim depression if you were watching and enjoying it from the corner there. Oh my gosh, things have lit up. Somebody tweeted at Liberty University a thing about, like, I don't necessarily want to pay for the class. Can I sit in the corner and audit? I think that's delightful.
That's funny. Oh, I'm relieved, though, that it wasn't like because like all of the pool boy stories, right? I was just like, oh, that poor boy, right?
Oh, having no, that boy.
Having to like deal with him, right? Because it was always like Jerry Falwell Jr.'s little boy toy. Like that was always like what I thought it was, right? And so I was always just like, oh, he looks like such a nice young
slave
man.
On your hand.
Yeah.
At this point, and I will also remind listeners that back in 2019, we learned about some photographs that that Falwell called former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen in to deal with, just to fix it for him, because apparently a third party had compromising photographs of the Falwells.
Oh boy.
Falwell denied this, but come on, we all know it's true, dude. Anyway.
Amazing.
This certainly isn't the only scandal that has happened, and there was the whole Instagram picture that he tweeted out or whatever. You know how you tweet out Instagrams?
That's what
you do that.
I'm sure that's what you do, Dan.
I'm sure I sounded young and hip in that moment. Anyway, the guy's out. Is what I'm talking about, and this is a guy who has had basically a key to the White House. The entire time Trump's been in office.
Still does. Trump loves this kind of shit.
Oh, are you kidding me? Trump likes him more now.
He wants details.
Literally, his advisors are saying, no, you can't have him over now. And he's like, but now's the time that I want to have him over. I want to talk about it. Maybe I want to have sex with his wife while he watches. Anyway,
gross.
There you go. The Falwells. We have a Falwell down. Falwell down.
Thank God.
I mean,
the Lord works in mysterious ways.
Dude, your name is Falwell. You're gonna fall down. You're gonna lose. Yeah. Anyway, listen, kids. If you have anything you'd like to say about this or any of our stories, please feel free to write into us. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Wall now?
Well, now Wall.
What? Narwhal? Well, now we got ourselves a clip to play.
This is Lance Wallnow, Dan.
Yes.
Is who we're making fun of without anybody knowing what we're talking about.
He's grumpy.
I think you might have actually referenced this last week on the show, but we didn't actually hear the audio.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Kamala Harris as though she was the presidential candidate.
Yeah, he skips Biden entirely on this one.
Biden's irrelevant in this whole thing,
right?
And he doesn't have a nice thing to say about her.
This is deep state stuff. This doesn't really matter whether you're popular with the country. They'll get you elected. They got all the unions. They got all the money. They got all the Black Lives Matter political clout now that most people don't realize is part of the Democratic Party to begin with. And all of these things, the only base that Donald Trump has are the people that are sane. But how many sane people do you know? So Kamala is going to do what Obama wants her to do, which is to undo Trump's legacy. She has to, and she will, within the first opportunity. It's going to undo every executive order, everything that can be undone. Right on down to some judges that Trump put in that she's going to argue. She won't argue. She's not intelligent. She's ingeniously gifted with a chameleon-like ability to adapt and in a kind of a deceitful way to charm people that are capable of just being sucked in by the political power of a personality. So, where does this leave us? Well, my biggest concern all along was this dream that I had. She was in an elevator. I was in an elevator with her, and I was in that elevator going up, and I knew there was a Jezebel spirit. Now, this was before she ran in the primaries for president. So I knew all along that she was going to be the one that the devil was going to try to use to take Trump out. We're going to fight in the spirit, and we're going to mobilize in other ways in order to do what has to be done to keep the devil from his impatient, lusting, grasping, premature seizure of power. But I'm telling you, Kamala is Hillary 2.0. It's the Jezebel spirit 2.0. And she has no real conscience.
Okay, so the thing that stood out to me the most, and you probably heard me chuckle pretty hard while we were playing it.
I heard it.
Which
our listeners
did not, but you, Dan. Which is his line of, people who are sucked in by a political personality, right? I'm like, yeah, you're talking about the entire right, man. Like,
yeah, well, yeah. Have you seen your guy?
Yeah,
your head dude.
All he is a personality, right?
Yeah.
Like,
as a matter of fact, he's so much not a. There's so little politics to him, and so only personality that the entire Republican Party balked on the idea of even having a platform other than just him.
It's a repeat of the same platform that they used in 2016.
No, they don't have a platform.
I thought they repeated the same one.
They literally wrote up a thing that was like, anyone who attempts to bring up the drafting of a platform during this convention will be ruled out of order. They don't have one other than we support this guy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I don't want to get into it, but like.
Okay. Well, it doesn't matter
because it doesn't really matter. Because
what matters is this guy's a dipshit.
Yeah.
And he literally. Oh, we're gonna get emails about that, by the way. Someone will correct us. That's fine. But yeah, this guy, like, this Jezebel spirit thing is amazing. That means something to them.
Yeah.
And all it really means is we hate women. That's all it really means.
Well, they have nothing else when they don't like a woman but to call her a whore.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Because that's what they're saying, right?
Yeah, well,
the Jezebel spirit.
They're saying a deceiver, a whatever. They're just saying that, like, they couldn't possibly address her, any position that they take or any actual points that they make It's literally just, but she's a girl. Why isn't she making dinner?
Right.
It's that stupid.
Right.
Like, they are that dumb that when it's a woman, all they care about is that she's a woman and that must be evil. And why would I have to listen to what a woman has to say? Jezebel spirit. Yeah. Oh my God. Well, we had some folks. We had one folk write into us. This is from Max in Mississippi, who says, "Hey, last week you responded to listeners who were upset that you spend time discussing politics. I think the easiest response to the question about why atheists enter politics is because the theists chose to make the religion political.
Right.
This is true on the international stage, where autocrats use religion to lend credibility to their regimes. In India, for example, the Modi government has made Hindu nationalism a fundamental part of their platform. Likewise, in Turkey, Erdogan has pandered to Muslims to bolster his government. As Masha Gessen notes in her book Surviving Autocracy, reactionary governments from India to Poland to Russia have used LGBTQ issues, which often have religious overtones, to gather support from religious citizens. We have seen this happen in our own country, where Republicans have forged an alliance with evangelical Christians and conservative Catholics. Put simply, religion has been made into a cudgel. So if theists want to use the power of the state to control women's bodies, to reshape school curricula, and to deny LGBTQ basic rights, we have every right to politicize our atheism, or at least to try. As an atheist in Mississippi, I am prohibited from holding public office."
Oh, yeah.
And that's Max. Technically, Max, you aren't, because it's still on the books. Yes, there's still a law that's on the books, and that's on the books in several states, that atheists are not allowed to hold public office, but there was a court case that nullified all of those. So, good news, Max, you can run.
Woohoo! If that was the only thing holding you back.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You have no excuse now.
Right, but you're absolutely right. You know what you're not right about is that the theists, at least the ones in public office, don't actually want to use their power to control women's bodies. Quite the opposite. They want to control women's bodies to keep power. In my opinion, they use all of these cudgel issues. You're absolutely right that it's just a bludgeon. It's they're just using religion to control the masses to get votes. So they use issues like LGBT rights as a way of rousing the rabble, so that then they can stay in power. They don't care about those issues. They don't care if they're I guarantee you, Lindsey Graham doesn't give a fig about abortion and couldn't care less if two men get married. No. Doesn't care in the slightest.
He's just
but if
jealous
he says
that he can't.
Yeah, probably. But if he says, with Lindsey Graham, that's exactly true. But yeah, it's that they all they care about is staying in power, and they're using these are the issues that they use to trick, to scare the public, because it's all about terrifying people. And, this is the week of the Republican National Convention, and that's all of their rhetoric is just, you should be really scared.
Right.
They're coming for your suburbs. The brown people are coming. The gays are coming. One if by sea, two if by land, whatever. And and that's what they do. I don't think they give a fuck about the actual issues, not the politicians. But boy, they make sure that they fire up their base about them.
Yeah.
Precious
suburbs.
Oh my gosh,
we
the
have
suburbs.
to protect the suburbs.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like this, we've hit the 60s now. Do you think we'll get all the way back to the 50s, 40s, 30s? We're going back in time with this with the Republican rhetoric.
Some 20s might be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe we are in
the 20s, so let's bring it back.
That's true. It's time. It's time. Maybe Prohibition will come back.
All right.
We got some folks to thank.
We do have indeed, Dan. We have 2 new patrons on Patreon. We have Daniel, who signed up at the teacher level. Thank you.
Who I can tell by his name is handsome.
The picture's very small, so I can't say one way or the other on that one. But what I see looks good. And then we have Emily has signed up at the elder level.
Ooh,
elder. Emily.
Elder. I do like conferring the Melchizedek priesthood on women. I'm especially fond of it. So thank you so much,
she can do
Elder Emily
so much
and
now with
Daniel. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
And as always, we have our Lord and Savior to thank, our top donor, Davis.
Woo! Amazing, you guys. Hey, go to thankgodimatheist.com to figure out how to give us money, and do give us money, and let's move along.
Hey, Dan.
Yes?
There is a growing glut of old, abandoned churches that's starting to happen in this country.
I love it.
And I remember a decade or 2 ago hearing about, the old churches in, say, like the Netherlands or in the UK getting converted to something cool, maybe like a pub of some kind or whatever.
Sure.
And just being super jealous, right? Like, ooh, look at that public library, right? That's now in this old church or whatever.
Right.
And just being like, oh, man, that'll never happen here. And now we're starting to see more and more churches emptying up and being repurposed. I found this article. The article's not brand new or anything, but it got reposted today on a place that I spend some time online. And
so cagey you are about where you spend your time online.
I'm not shouting. I'm not mentioning any of these things.
It's Reddit, everybody.
Oh
he went to Reddit.
They don't need to know. Anyway, so there was this this article talking about, it says, the title of it is America's Epidemic of Empty Churches. It was from the Atlantic. And it's not new, like I said. It's coming up on 2 years old. But I read through it, and I was kind of just, because I have had this thought and observation in the past, I was just kind of fascinated by the article and some of the things that people are doing with churches in other cities. And we have actually some examples here in Salt Lake. But the article talks about, I guess this church in Brooklyn that was converted to 40 luxury apartments.
Sure.
It's one of the
40. That was a big church.
It was a big church. It's called the Spire Lofts. And wow. I'm sure they're small apartments, but a 1-bedroom unit rents for as much as $4,800 a month.
Holy.
And it also talks about
New York.
There was this church that was converted to a frat house, which poor old church, just getting ruined,
just wrecked.
And I was just like, oh wow, there's that one up in the Avenues. You actually mentioned it earlier here in town. That's been converted to office space.
Right. It was for sale recently, and Andrea and I went to an open house that they had because we wanted to check it out, see what it looked like inside. We used to live just around the corner from it.
Oh yeah, you did. That's true. Yeah.
And we went in and looked around, and what ended up happening is that we wanted to buy it. We did not have the funds to do that. I love our patrons, but they're not giving me $1.6 million worth of patronage. So yeah, I mean, it was not possible. I mean, it had a house attached. It had a little rectory, and then this beautiful church, this little church.
Do you know what kind of church it had been? I always wondered that.
I think
because it's clearly not an old LDS church.
No, it was a Presbyterian, I believe.
Nice.
And here's the thing, and you and I talked about this a little bit. When a community, when a church can't sustain itself anymore, It loses enough of its patronage that they can't hold on to. They can't afford to hold on to it anymore.
Yeah.
They're forced to sell or whatever. There are still a whole bunch of people from that church's community that have very deep emotional ties to this
Yeah,
thing.
no, that's true.
That have very powerful feelings about it and consider it a sacred place.
Grandma got baptized there, and now
Right.
there's frat
And
parties. Right?
And I feel for them. I get that, and I think that there's something that needs to be respected in that. And then on the other side, all I want to do is turn it into a sex dungeon. Like, that's all I want. I want orgies there on the reg.
Yeah.
Just because you gotta defile the damn place. It's just there's nothing else to be done.
Or you turn it into a sushi restaurant, Dan.
Yeah, that's true. We have there's an old synagogue downtown Salt Lake that is now an office space for a furniture company. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, I do kind of love. Here's the thing, when you build a worship space, it's open, it's big, it should have a bit of not Mormons, obviously, they don't know how to do this, but like a worship space should have some sort of magnificence to it.
Yeah.
It should have a sense of awe and wonder.
Yeah.
And those spaces are great. What I actually fantasize about, what I would love to do, so if there are any billionaires listening, this is what you actually should support me on. I really would love to buy up old church spaces and keep them as spaces for reflection and for contemplation and because I think that there's so much value in that, and that's something that we lose to some extent when we leave religion is the ability to go into a grand space and sort of think about grand ideas, things beyond ourselves.
And to be
now, obviously, thinking about God is idiotic, and that's just stupid. So don't do that. But think about the universe and your place in it, and what's meaningful to you.
Yeah, and think about all the things you can feel shame for, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, you know what? That's what we're doing. How great would it be to reclaim these spaces that were about feeling like you're a piece of shit, even though they're saying it's about worshiping God and bringing you closer to something beautiful. It's not. Most of those spaces are about how big a turd you are and how much you need to change and how much you owe this magic invisible being just for being alive. It's like the narrative there that has lived there is poison.
Yeah.
And it would be wonderful to turn it into a place
transform it.
Yeah.
You'd have to do some, serious smudging, right? Like you'd have to get your little what is that? Sage, right? Your little sage smudger thing. And boy, there's some bad energy in those buildings, right?
Oh my God.
Replace get all that sage everywhere and just go, get out of here, bad feels. Go, be gone.
I once went there's a store here in Salt Lake City called Crone's Hollow or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a witch store sort of thing. Yeah. And I went in there one time and heard a conversation where one woman was talking about smudging and the other woman was like, listen, people just do that willy-nilly and they don't know what they're doing. It's like a nuclear bomb in the spirit world. It just gets everything out, good or bad. It's really something, you really shouldn't do it unless you really know what you're doing. I thought that was so funny.
There was a woman at work. I shouldn't tell this story because it's
anybody. Yes, you should.
If anybody was listening,
from your work,
yeah.
Hi guys.
Hi. But I won't mention any names, but they would all know who I'm talking about. She would show up to work, and she had a spray, like mist sage thing.
No.
So instead of like having to like smudge, she had it in more convenient, sort of portable fashion, right? And
For those of you who don't know what smudging is, you take a big bundle of sage and you light it on fire and make everything around you smell awful.
Yeah.
A lot of people like the smell of burning sage. All the people who do smudging love the smell of burning sage and do not acknowledge that there are those of us who hate the smell of burning sage.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it as a smell, but anyway.
I hate it.
So it doesn't really bother me. It's just weird and annoying. And anyway, so she would just like spray it around sort of her general area just to like clear out all the bad vibes. And I didn't know what she was doing for the longest time, and then one day I walked by and she wasn't there, and I kind of just like looked extra. Oh, that's what it is.
Oh my god!
I was just like, oh, of course that's what it is. Like just the most granola.
She's clearing the bad spirits.
Yeah, just all the good feels type, And I'm just like, oh my god,
so
sweet woman,
anyway,
really sweet woman. I don't feel.
Yeah,
I feel
let's get back to this whole church thing, because well, what's funny is I'm sure that there are people who would have the impulse to, if they took over a church, they would have the impulse to replace the stupid and toxic and unhelpful mythology that had been taught in that place with stupid toxic mythology that was different stupid toxic mythology, and things like smudging or whatever, just witchcraft or whatever dumb stupid thing you have. Sorry everybody, I think all that witchy stuff is dumb. Anyway, it is funny that people would probably want to replace it with their own superstitions, but
yeah,
I love the idea. I don't know about you. Have you ever been in an office building that's in a former church?
No, I've only seen pictures.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun way. I think it's a fun thing to do, but but also there's a danger there, right? There's this danger that people who have actually been traumatized in church, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
If you invite them to your office and your office is in the space or the kind of space where your trauma existed,
right,
that could be problematic.
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, it does kind of make you wonder, right? Like what effect that could have.
Yeah.
I think that part of it being turned into something else, though, does, especially something that is really severely not religious, right?
Right.
A brew pub, right?
Or a club or something like that. A nightclub. Or...
As this article mentions, a laser tag arena.
Oh my gosh! Like, can you bounce your laser off the stained glass?
Right, exactly.
Of Jesus, and hit somebody.
But there's something about that takes it that takes that reverence away from it. Right,
takes
it's now
curse off
just
it.
a structure. Right, it's just that. And it's a structure that was built in a certain way, and if there is stained glass, well, isn't that nice to kind of look at, and hopefully they've done something, like if it was really like Jesus-y stained glass or really whatever, like religious in general, maybe it's something just abstract or whatnot, but maybe they keep it. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of these things are like on a historic register somewhere.
Yeah.
So they're not allowed to be changed. You can't take down the stained glass.
Oh, well, I would just knock it out and then...
and then say, oops.
And be like, oh, I can't believe we accidentally knocked it out. Oopsies. I mean, the cross is coming down, right? Any kind of like actual religious...
I don't know. I just draw a mustache symbolism on Jesus or something and call it good.
Well, now people aren't going to want to come into your office for a whole other set of reasons.
They're going to want to come. The orgies alone are worth it.
Oh, my God. Well, Dan.
I don't know. Buy me a church, somebody. Can somebody please just buy me a church? I'll do something good with it, I promise. Anyway, yeah, I listen, if you guys have examples of cool things that people have done with churches, I want to hear about it. You can write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yes, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also, find us on Twitter at TGIA Atheist.
We're tweeting. We're out there tweeting in the world. Hey, thanks so much to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music. And if you like what you hear on the show, please support us on Patreon. You can go to thankgodimatheist.com.
Give us your money! But more important than that, thank you so much for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.